Yo, welcome to episode 52, the Dome Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about what I call the Mythical Shiny Suit Era,
Right.
1997 hip-hop and commercial versus underground. Here with one of my favorite dudes on Twitter. I couldn't think of anyone else to have this conversation with, real talk, than my man, the myth, the legend.
He said the myth.
Man, that's right. Apartment 5B. Kill, what's good, my brother?
What's good, bro? You already know how it is, man. I always appreciate the invite. Always love chopping it up with you, bro.
Yeah, man. So look, about a year ago, episode 2 of the Dome Podcast, I talked about the disrespect of 1997 hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because episode 1 was about 1996, and I called it the hip hop war of 1996 because most people know a lot of things were going on in 1996. A lot of people was picking sides. You know, you had the Roots, J. Rue the Damager, and and all Daylight, and everybody having their issues with hip hop. And this is in 1996, so the war had already started leading into 1997. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, I looked at how 1997 was kind of disrespected, and like how that year really was, and how to me the shiny suit situation kind of got overblown. It became the cool thing to say to me that hip hop is dying in 1997 because 96 to some people is one of the strongest years of hip hop history. I have it as a top 3-4 year in the culture.
Right.
And so coming after that is like coming after the 98 Bulls. You know what I'm saying? Like what's going to happen. So, and then we know what happened in 98. We're going to get into 98 too.
Right.
But Kill, one thing I wanted to say real quick for the listeners is what I consider to be an era is basically 3 to 5 years in a genre that a certain sound or a certain artist kind of dominate that time period.
Okay.
So I think that for me personally, the term era is used in an incorrect fashion. So let me give you an example. It's from 1978 to like 82. That era for me was, of course, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, Cold Cuts Brothers, and with Cass being the face of that.
Treacherous 3, Busy Big.
Of course, you know what I'm saying. And Curtis Blow, we can't forget about Curtis Blow in terms of about him being actually one of the first big stars of hip hop. You know what I'm saying. So that era had a certain kind of style. Then you lead on into 83 to like 86 era, and you have the rise of Run DMC. You know what I'm saying? And then LL Cool J, Beastie Boys, Fat Boys, Houdini, they started rocking that certain sound, and Run DMC started making, they was calling themselves the King of Rock, man. So they had the rock sound and messing with Rick Rubin a little, I guess, that influence. And, even LL, I'm Bad is rock. Right. You know what I'm saying? So that was the sound of that kind of era. You know what I'm saying? Then we're getting up to 86 to like, let's say 90 or whatever. And now you're talking about Airbnb and Rakim, KRS One, the lyricists come. Cool G Rap, NWA, Solo Ice Cube. But then of course we talk about the mid 90s. We talking about Tribe, Jay-Z, Nas, Not About Nature, Snoop, and West Coast in 92. So that's the way I look at era. So before we get into anything else, how do you look at the term era? Because when I think of era, it made me think about disco. Like disco, disco took a couple of years in the 70s, and that was the disco era, not the disco year. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. Like the 3 to 5 years, it's like it seems like we get that span in music from time to time. You know what I mean? And your disco example was like perfect. You know what I mean? Like it was just that it lived for a minute. You know what I mean? And then it kind of just disappeared. Like disco just died. And then we came back. It's kind of like on the 5 Heartbeats, where you kind of saw them change when Flash, came into the group, and now you see them on the stage with the keyboards, like they used to look like guitars that boys used to be on in the 80s. You went from the disco into that era. So no, I agree 100% with you. And then a lot of it, like you said, is based off of sound too. Like a certain sound, like we had that New Jack Swing era for a minute, like the 3 to 4, 5 years, everything was New Jack Swingish, and then it shifts on to something else. So a lot of it to me is the sound of the music. You know what I mean? Like, and then like you said, like so many years later, then you switch. We had a Swiss Beat era for a minute when nobody was sampling. True. I remember people being like, nah, I'm selling all my records and getting a Triton. We just gonna make Swiss beats. And then Jay did the blueprint, and it was like, oh, we sampling again. Okay, bet. then dudes came back to sampling, and we had the Chipmunk Soul era for a minute where everybody was doing the Kanye, the sped up soul samples and everything like that. So I agree 100% with you, bro.
And I'm glad you said it that way, because again, like I said, I think a lot of people use era, and a year is not an era to me, right?
Oh, no.
So as we get ready to talk about 1997 and everything about 1997, I'm gonna use this for the sake of conversation. To me, I'm gonna say era just for conversation purposes. The Shiny Suit era for me is actually the Bad Boy era of 1997. Okay, right. But all right, so Life After Death drops in spring 1997.
Right.
DMX is Dark and Hell is Hot drops spring 1998.
Right.
And I don't think people look at it and understand how close that is, right? People think Biggie and Pac died, and it was this long period of time before DMX and the Rough Rider movement in 1998, which is one of the best years of hip hop to me as well. That we'll streamline 96, 97, 98. But I think people think it's this long period of time when essentially it's not a long period of time.
Nah.
Biggie dies and his album drops in March of 97. Yep. DMX takes over the game in spring 1998. You can't go anywhere without hearing DMX in spring 98. The Rough Riders, Get At Me Dog, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So I think I don't want to go into 1997, but let me ask you real quick. What's your thoughts just in overall about 1997? Where were you at in 1997 as far as personally before we get into some of the particulars?
You know, fam, it's funny you say that because I think sometimes I've been harder on 97 from where I was. So I graduated college a semester late. So I graduated in December of 96. And I moved right to Atlanta. Like, you know, me and my girl at the time, she was going back to Clark, Atlanta. I had an aunt down there who was going to give me a crib or whatever, dirt cheap. And I was going to try, you know, shop beats. In 97, Atlanta was still kind of, you know, bubbling and everything with the music scene. So I went down there for that. But the funny thing I always tell boys is it's like, I don't know if you remember in Superman 2, when Clark was like, yo, I'm going to give up my superpower.
Yeah.
And then he got into that little rumble at the diner, and his nose bro, that's how it was for me, because from 93 to 97, I've been at 889. I've been hosting the radio show. So I was treated like royalty, like got in every show for free, got in every club for free, got all the music for free. So it's like I'm in like Atlanta, don't nobody know me. Like I'm a fucking nobody. Like I'm like buying CDs again. Like, yo, I ain't had to buy a CD in forever. Like I felt like a regular person again. Like I ain't getting no special treatment. Ain't nobody like, yo, Kill, come through the spot. Like, so for me, and then too, it was kind of like I couldn't find a gig in 97. You know what I mean? It was kind of depressing to me because it was like, damn, I did this the right way. I done went to college. Not only that, I hosted a hip hop show for, you know, all this time for these past 4 or 5 years. And I couldn't really find a gigs. And then me and my girl was beefing. So 97 to me was like a bad year. Like I was type depressed. And we'll talk about some of the hip hop that came out that I kind of felt like was a letdown for me. And it's kind of like, it was almost like, I needed hip hop to like hold me down, and some of the albums that I was expecting to hold me down did. So that's why I say sometimes I'm a little harder on 97 because it was like if I was still in Baltimore doing my thing, I probably have a totally different recollection of the year 1997 than I do. Because it's like you needed your man to hold you down in a beef, and that nigga wasn't there for you. You like, damn, nigga, like, yo, I thought you was my man. So that's where I was. What was you doing in 97?
So man, you know, so you're actually like I'm like a year older than me. So we basically same era, you know what I'm saying? So I'm finishing up college. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, for people that know me, I'm in a fraternity, you know what I'm saying? Kappa Alpha Psi, you know, so shout out to the news, whatever. I'm throwing parties. I'm one of those guys in college, you know what I'm saying? As far as like everybody knows me as a hip hop head. I made little mixtapes, but I was also, like I said, a part of a group that we threw parties in Greensboro, North Carolina for UNCG, where I went to school at, and I went to school at A&T also. So we throwing all these parties. So we're in the clubs, but I'm also a hip hop head going to all the little hip hop spots that's different than the regular clubs. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting the best of both worlds, which is why 97 was pretty dope to me. You know what I'm saying? As far as like I was out there. So hear about the Shiny Suit Era. I'm saying, okay, well, I'm one of them dudes that the chicks walk up to on campus. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, when the next party? You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those guys, and I'm like, yo, next Friday, first 50 women get in free, my G. You know what I'm saying? Y'all niggas scared. You know what I'm saying? But the chicks, you gotta get them in first. So being that was.
So you ain't playing no J. Rue the Damager. You can't be playing that. Right.
Well, you know, the local little hip hop head spot will play.
Right, that's where that goes.
And Black Moon and all of them, Smith and Wesson, all of them. I'm with all that, but that's down the street.
Right, this is over here
tonight. I need a line of women all the way around the building.
Right, and the dope thing, bro, and that what I love about you doing that is because I always tell people, you know, on Twitter. I think we're two of the most notorious people on Twitter, you know, who get stuff all the time, and I'm always telling people it's like trying to speak another language. It can get frustrating. You know, I always tell people when me and my wife and my daughter went to Cancun a couple of years ago, they speak Spanish. I don't. So I fuck around and try to like be thorough and be like, say hola to somebody and they start rambling. I'm like, whoa, I don't speak that language. Like, but if you really try to have a conversation with somebody and you don't speak their language, it becomes frustrating. You know what I mean? And it makes you want to walk away from it. And I think that's what happens a lot of times on Twitter is we're not understanding each other. You know what I mean? But just from what you said makes me understand you even more. You know what I mean? Because I've never been a club boy. I was never that boy. I never went to like no clubs that's gonna be playing none of the like party music or nothing like that. I was just 100% underground. But when you say when you say yo, I was on both sides of the street. Like I was in the joint. Because the thing is, you in the club and you see women dancing, you get a different respect for music. You know what I mean? Like you let that song that if you just heard in your car is trash, but you done seen a couple of shorties dancing to it. Now you like, oh, that's my joint. Because when I hear it, I think of shorty. So it helps you, and that's why I'm glad you did this to kind of break down where we were in '97, because it helps you understand the way we see things and the way people, you know, it cuts down on all the hoopla because like, oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, I see where you're coming from because now we starting to learn to speak the same language. So I love the fact that you did that, bro. For real.
Yeah. And anyone who is our age, 49, 50, even in their mid 40s, whatever, if they were kind of grown in the 90s, you know what I'm saying, then I'm not understanding why they don't get the club scene. And I know you didn't go to the club, but overall, a lot of dudes say they was outside in clubs. So you was outside in clubs, what was you listening to? Because there's more than one. So I was in multiple types of clubs. So let me say with that. If you was an underground head nigga and all you did was go to some spots that's gonna play, you know what I'm saying, you know, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul all night, that's cool. So and I like I said, I went to those, but I also had the appreciation of like, so for me, Bad Boy 1997 was perfect. For some people, they ruined the hip hop. They ruined it. This is what De La Soul and this is what J. Rue Denver was talking about with One Day. You know what I'm saying in '96. But the funny thing was J. Rue Denver was talking about One Day in '96 before Life After Death, before Harlem World, No Way Out. No, he was talking about that shit after Juicy. You know what I'm saying? He was talking about that stuff with hip hop in '96. I didn't even know what this beef was, but at the same time, you know what I mean? That's the funny thing about it. So in '97, I'm in the clubs. All right, so More Money, More Problem. I'm gonna give you a little list of some stuff, the Bad Boy situation, and I want to tackle into that first before we get into the other songs that was and albums that came out in '97. I think to offset this. So I made. All right, More Money, More Problems came out in July '97. Hypnotized and all that was early, like March '97.
Right.
Those are club joints. Sky's the Limit came out in November. That's late in the year. So right there, that's really only one. More Money, More Problems, and Hypnotized are club bangers in the spring. Right. During that summer, Puff No Way Out came out. Right. So Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. That's January '97. It came out early. So now Bad Boy got 3 songs on the radio. I'll Be Missing You came out May '97. I mean, it's not a fun song called Biggie's Day. Right. You know what I'm saying? Been Around the World, November. So that's at the end of the year. And Harlem World, Feel So Good, October '97. So they sprinkled out all the way through. What You Want From Me, December '97. So then, and those are the 6 songs right there. And that's it. Those are the singles right there for Puff, Mason, Big. That's like 6 songs. Now, they played those 6 songs on the radio and in the club. I'm in the clubs at that time throwing parties. The chicks are loving Puff and Mace and big joints. So those joints are rocking at the same time with the shiny suit thing. LL Cool J got Phenomenon out. You know what I'm saying? Missy Elliott drops The Rain and Sock It To Me and all of that. And she got the shiny stuff in the video. And
right.
You know, Will Smith is out with Big Willie style, all of this stuff. So those kind of songs were all big in the club. I'm in the club, so I'm saying people dancing, having a good time. Nothing's wrong with that because from our age, Kill, our era, we grew up on Kwame, Only You in the club.
Right.
I was in the club then. Only You, Kid and Place joints, Big Daddy Kane, Father MC, all of these. Heavy D was heavy in the club.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't see nothing wrong with 1997 in that regard of Bad Boy. So let's stick on Bad Boy for a minute. What was your thoughts and projection on Bad Boy in 97?
See, the funny thing is, bro, is I'm sitting here thinking about what you're saying, and then it makes me think about what Vegas said. Keep in mind, I hosted the hip hop show. So every Friday, where am I at from 11 a.m. to 5 a.m. at the radio station? Most of the parties on Morgan's campus was Fridays. So from 93 to 97, I wasn't at no clubs because I was on the radio station.
I was in the club.
Listening to strictly hip hop, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's funny because you were sitting there like, yo, I don't know how boys in our era be told about they wasn't in the club. And I'm like, fuck, why wasn't I in the club? Shit, because I was at the radio station. Whereas when Vegas will tell you, I'd be like, yo, Vegas, come through. He'd be like, nigga, I'm at the club. You don't know he coming through. I'm out here with the joints. Whereas for me, I was like, yo, the radio, I'll fucking club. I'm at the radio station. So I mean, and here's the other thing too that I think makes me look at the game a little different too. Being a producer at that time, you know, and being of the producers I came up with, my OG, A Kid Called Roots, my man Bezo, Shadi, it's kind of like at that 96 junction, it was that where we were getting into just the track masters. Because to me, the track masters kind of were the beginning of the Shiny Suit Era. You know what I mean? For me, because it was like, yo, you're just looping songs that we already know. You know what I mean? You're not digging in the crates and finding a come clean. You're not looking for an award tour. You're not looking for, Pete and CL straighten it out. You're just going to loop up Diana Ross. You're just going to loop up, you know, whatever song was dope like that. So I think for me being a producer, it was kind of like, man, fuck them niggas. They taking that's the crossover route. You know what I mean? Y'all just looping. Y'all doing the easy thing. You go to the club. Every time in the club, you're going to throw on an old school set. And Tone from Track Masters will talk about this. That Tone will be the party dude. You come home and tell Pope, yo, they threw on woo 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 in the club. Niggas lost their mind. Let's use that. So it kind of felt like for us producers, like that was the cheat code. Like y'all, man, that's y'all cheating. Like, you know, it's easy to know that this song is gonna be a hit because it was already a hit. It was already a hit. Whereas the producers, the way that I always say this on Twitter, it's all about how you were raised. The producers who were raising me were like boom bap producers. That's right. So my man Kid Called Roots, you know, he's going on to do things for Cannabis. He's done things for Memphis Bleak. He's been in the game. So when we're digging in the crates and looking for the skull snaps and the impressions, we looking for stuff that nobody ever heard before and using that. So for me, it just was, of course, I like the music, but it was just like, damn, man. I felt like that's where that us versus them kind of started to come into play. That makes sense. It was like, but it's only because I'm a producer. I always tell people, if you a civilian and you just love hip hop, you don't rap, you don't make beats, you don't do. I understand why people would love that shit because the joints was dope. You know what I mean? I won't sit here and act like I don't know every single bar to More Money, More Problems. I'm not gonna sit here and act like, oh, I never heard that before. Like, nah, I did. But then at the same token, it was kind of like, I'll give you an example. I was reading this book and Check the Technique. Smith & Wesson, for their remix to Recognize, still wanted to use the Just the Two of Us sample. Right. And Evil D was like, nah, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, what would my contemporaries think of me? You know, what would the Buck Wild, the Diamonds and all of them, what would they think of me if I just loop up Just the Two of Us? My nigga, Will Smith got Just the Two of Us out right now. Right. And he didn't do it. That's why if you look at the Smith & Wesson 12-inch, it's produced by Still because But but that's what I mean by it was that deep for producers. Like, nah, I'm not just gonna loop something everybody already knows, which is crazy because the recognized remix, I love it. It was dope as hell to me. The video was dope, but I want to give people watching a mindset into a producer that the beat miners were the boot camp producers. They were the in-house producers. So for Evil D to say, no, I'm not gonna just loop up just the two of us. That's how, because what are my contemporaries gonna think? Like, we used to think like that as producers. Like, what are the rest of my producers around me gonna think if I do that? And it was like, nah, I can't do that. And still, you go to equipment, do it yourself. But I'm not putting my name on that.
Yeah, and you know what's fun? And that makes sense because being a producer, especially if you're influenced by, like, boom, you know, I joke on Twitter all the time about the boom bap kids. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, you're a producer. You was influenced by them. But the funny thing is, since I'm still on the bad boy for a quick second, is the Hitmen, for example, they would make more money, more problems, right? That serves for the club, right? Then they'll turn around and they'll make Notorious Thugs, just like Stevie J will make Notorious Thugs, or they'll make Grizzly did Long Kiss Goodnight, didn't he? But
I know what you're saying. They had it. That's what made Puff so of a genius, because you had the Nasheem Myrick, you had who did TONY for CNN, who shot you for Big. You had the Ron Lawrence, who did Where I'm From for Jay-Z. But then you had the D-Dot, who kind of could morph in both worlds. D-Dot could give you a Hypnotize. He could give you the Benjamins. Then you had Stevie J and Chucky, God bless the dead, who could give you that R&B stuff. So that was the most ingenious thing about the Hitman to me, was because it's like Puff got a little mixture of everything.
And you know what? With what Bad Boy was doing, I named a few minutes ago like 6 singles, right? Commercial singles that they dropped and kind of dominated. And I know they end up being the face of the Shiny Suit. You see Puff and Mace on the videos together. So images are important too. So you see Puff and Mace with the shiny joints on, they dancing, they doing, they like, oh, they the lead of this new sound and era and look and all that. But at the same time, what Bad Boy was doing, they dropped Sky's the Limit. Mace dropped 24 Hours to Live and all this stuff like that. You know, so they got the Benjamins, which the Benjamins is probably one of the most recognizable beats and songs in hip-hop history. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Puff didn't get the credit in terms of looking back. It's a lot of revisionist history to me. But if you look at what Puff did, it was pretty amazing to see how he navigated through 97 after Big died, still dropping club bangers and street bangers at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's very hard to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but now, Kim, what I want to go into is a few artists who offset what Bad Boy was doing.
Oh, it was a lot. It was a lot.
I look at, like, so Wu-Tang Forever drops in June 1997. That disc 2, RZA starts talking about hip hop and his disdain for hip hop right before the Triumph come on. Because what RZA is basically saying is, I hear all this bullshit going on right now in hip hop, and now it's time for the Triumph. You know what I'm saying? And so, and just thinking about that year, I go to Willis here in Greensboro. The line the midnight sale for Wu-Tang double CD Forever, people are wrapped around the building in 1997 to get Wu-Tang's album. I want people to hear this and understand this, that in 1997, say it again, people were wrapped around the building to buy Wu-Tang Forever. Triumph is playing in everybody's car, all Better Tomorrow. I'm talking all in the parking lot for that night. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is also, I'm in North Carolina. This is also true all up and down the East Coast and everywhere, because the Triumph video at the time was the most expensive rap video and the biggest video at the time. And Wu-Tang was trying to take over the damn summer for the hip hop heads. You know what I'm saying? They gonna end up setting up a world tour. Forever end up selling 4 million records. What was your thoughts on Forever before we get into some other stuff?
I fucked with Forever. I'm not gonna hold you. I mean, I give it a 4 mics. I don't think it's a classic though. I don't think it's a classic, but I mean, I at first listen, I think it was just the expectations to me for were through the roof. You know, when you're coming off of Iron Man, you know, fucking Only Built for Cuban Links, all that stuff. But I mean, I fucked with it. Like it wasn't a letdown. I think my expectations was just so high. Like this is gonna be. And as I get older, I realize expectations play such a huge part. And sometimes in life, I felt like I put too much expectation. I was expecting this to be the greatest hip hop album ever.
Right.
Like that's where, like, coming off of Wu-Tang and their movement and just everything that they were doing, I just was like, yo, how do you not culminate this with like the greatest hip hop album? Like, fuck Illmatic, fuck Pay to, like, this is gonna be the biggest album. And that's too much to put on anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why I said, like, it's on. I realized years later it was on me that I put way too much emphasis on this shit like that.
And I can see how that could happen, man, especially after hearing Trial. But really, contrary to what you thought, I was like, Flo, I thought it was so amazing, man. It was funny because when I heard It's Yours, Better Tomorrow, Reunited, and me as a writer, I'm listening to how Inspector Deck was on throughout the entire double CD. I was like, oh my, his verses.
If you talk about nobody getting their props, it's always Deck, man.
Deck
sounded
amazing, man, on Forever. Ghostface sound amazing on Forever. Raekwon did the lead off like he did on 36 Chambers on several songs. Meth was fluid on Forever. Like, bro, I listen to Forever still all the time because with the exception of 3 or 4 songs, it's a double CD that I don't listen to, man. I was amazed, man, to be honest with you, because again, I understand the expectation because Wu-Tang is Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying? And like I said the other night on your apartment 5B, you know, that run that RZA did.
It's crazy, man.
RZA and Primo in the mid-90s could have been the most prolific runs, you know, as far as for underground hardcore ever. You know,
easily, man. Easily. I mean, the stuff that they was doing, and what I love is I heard like Primo would say something like, yo, I got this piano joint, it's crazy. And he talking about the J. Rule's the original. And then RZA be like, nigga, I got a piano joint coming too. You know what I mean? Talking about Cream. So it's also that iron sharpens iron. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're contemporaries, but to some extent, like, nigga, we in competition. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, so I think like that's another dope thing about those years in the 90s is that everybody's making everybody else doper because I'm hearing what you did. Now I gotta step up my game.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna name. I made some notes. I want to name like 15 albums, right? But then then we can get into, did we like a particular one stand out? Or like you said, you thought something was gonna hold you down, didn't really hold you down the way you thought. Did any exceed your expectations, etc. So what I put down for 1997, and this is only a few, is Wu-Tang Forever. We got War Report, CNN, and we're gonna get into that. Common, One Day It All Makes Sense, which is one of my favorite Common albums. Buster When Disaster Strikes, of course, Missy, Super Duper Fly, Camp Lowe's Uptown Saturday Night, people. I mean,
just talking about that.
One of the most creative MCs you'll ever see, man. KRS One, I Got Next. Rakim, The 18th Letter. Master P, Ghetto D. OC Jewels, which I just did a Flowers post about that because I'm in love with Jewel's album. I play it all the time since 97. I know you interviewed OC some years ago. I want to get into that too. Scarface Untouchable album. The Bone Thugs Art of War. One of my favorite slept on albums of that era. I said era. The Equinox by Organized Confusion. The Crew Dirty 30. Jay-Z Volume 1. And let me tell you something. You take off 2 songs on Volume 1, one of some of the greatest spitting Jay-Z ever did in his career. You know what I'm saying? Street bangers all over In My Lifetime Volume 1. The Firm album, Jungle Brothers album, Royal Flush, Ghetto Millionaire. You know what I'm saying? Frankie Cutlass, Politics and Bullshit. You know what I'm saying? The Alcohol.
You digging, man. You digging.
Yeah, the Lost Boys, Love, Peace, and Happiness. I love that album, and that's the Beast from the East introducing cannabis to people who know about cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Timbaland and Magoo, hey, they still did their thing on the album. You know what I'm saying? Tracy Lee album. I thought Tracy Lee was so underrated. I mean, he one of the few people you can say went bar for bar with Biggie. Keep your hands high. for people who don't know much about Tracy Lee, because they think of maybe it's party time. You know, we rocked that in the club too in '97. But Tracy Lee got respect from Biggie. Biggie didn't do a lot of features with people outside of his folks in New York. He rocked with Tracy Lee. And Many Faces, man, he had some joints on that album, man. He got this joint real quick I love called Big Willie Style. I play that joint and repeat a lot still to this day. Like I said, man, that year had so many albums, man. But give me 2 or 3 to stand out, man. Then we'll get into particulars.
I'll tell you this, man. The one that stood out the most for me was Comm's One Day It'll All Make Sense. Like when you talk about, I've never been able to say like, yo, this album saved my life, or, you know, and it's beautiful when I hear people say that, but that's probably the closest thing to it. Because again, I'm thinking I'm graduating, I'm gonna get a job in the industry, things gonna be popping, I'm moving to Atlanta, I'm gonna be pushing these beats. And when shit ain't panning out like that, I'm like, this the first time I'm 22, 23. I'm kind of depressed. Like, yo, like this the first time in my life shit ain't really going my way. And when Common dropped that, just even from the title, like one day it'll all make sense like that. You talk about something speaking to me, it was like, yo, nigga, one day all of this shit will make sense. And that's why, like, I've always told people, and it was like that album, that's why it's my favorite Common album. You know what I mean? And not just because of the title, but I mean everything that's on there. Like, to me, that's just Common. The storytelling on Stolen Moments 1 through 3, the joint making a name for ourselves, going bar to bar with Cannabis, who was the nastiest dude at that time. Retrospectful Life with Lauryn Hill. Like, he had everything. Like, you know, Hungry, the CeeLo joint, the one out, what was it, All Night with fucking The Roots and Erykah Badu, reminded me of Steph, One Too Many. It's just, and again, so for me, that was huge. Jewels, I'm with you, man. Like, love War Games, like, you know, We Just Can't Go on. I mean, I love that album, is just beautiful to me.
The title track, Jewels, the last song on the album. You talk about one of my favorite closings of an album. I think Lord Finesse did that beat. You know
he did.
And after he finished rhyming, the way Finesse had that beat going to the end and fading out. I can't think of a better way to end the album, man. But, you know, My World or whatever, when it first come up with Primo, man, the joint with Bumpy Knuckles, the joint with Big L. Man, I like the joint. The Crow. Crow is ill. You know what I'm saying? Like, creativity on that. But, you know, I think that some people got caught up in the single Far From Yours. And
I was just about to say, I know a lot of people who didn't hear that album.
I thought it gave the album good balance, man, and Hypocrite on there. You know, but real quick, since we're talking about Jewels, man, how did that interview come about with you and OC? How did that happen, and how was that?
To be honest, probably just some Twitter shit. Probably, you know, we follow each other's like, I remember first getting on Twitter and people be like, yo, don't be thirsty, don't be at rappers. I'm like, nigga, if I'm trying to get you on my show, it ain't being thirsty. I got an opportunity to talk to you. I'm at you. Then the nigga was cool as shit. You know, he was like, yeah, we chop it up. He did it. He did the interview in DITC Studios. Showbiz came through, you know what I mean? NYGs came through and everything. But and again, I'm never one to be like, you know, the rapper said, but I asked him, who would you like better? You know, Word Life or Jewels? He's like, easily Jewels. Like, you know, it was like, it was, he was like, yo, it was perfecting the craft. You know what I mean? That's why. One thing I think, Tone, like, we have to give a lot of people credit for, because a lot of these MCs' first albums are damn near like their demos. You know what I mean?
Yes, everything they've gone up to that point.
Right. And the crazy thing is, think about how great Word Life is. Like, nigga, if you play my demos on my first beats, niggas gonna be like, yeah, get that nigga out. You know what I mean? Because you just getting started. So we really got to salute some of these MCs who really, you know, some of these first songs and things are really maybe not more than maybe a demo. Maybe they went to the studio and kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but I think for OC it was just like, yo, we just knew what we was doing now. Man, like, you
make a good point that will be good for another show to talk about, like, MC's first album / they demo. Because I'm gonna say something about the big controversial that somebody gonna make a comment, I'm sure. Illmatic sounds like a demo to me. Like, to a degree, if you go back and listen to the rawness of New York State of Mind, all that, it sounds like a damn demo, damn near. And then you hear it was written and it's polished. You know what I'm saying? I want to say something about Trackmaster real quick, because because some of the beats the Trackmaster did, it was written. If you thought Large Professor and somebody did that, you'd be like, oh, that shit is the best thing in the world, because Trackmaster did make, big, like 80 sample songs for the clubs, but they still the same dudes that made Ill Street Blues. You know what I'm saying? And I did a whole list of Trackmaster's beats on Twitter one time, and people was hitting me like, oh, they made that. Yeah, all them hard ass bangers, Trackmasters made that. You know what I'm saying?
Dog, I got the best of the Trackmasters mixtape, and it's just they street shit. You know what I mean? And people, right? And Keita, what you say, I always say that about it was written was, I got the advanced copy, and I'm in my mom's basement in Philly listening to it, and I'm like, yo, I think Large Pro may have done watch them niggas. You could have told me RZA didn't do shootouts. You know what I mean? Like, so when I finally got the CD, and I'm like, oh shit, the Trackmasters, I had to tip my hat to them niggas. You know what I mean? Because, but again, I'm also knowledgeable to know myself and my assholeless ways, that if I didn't get it that way, that I may have fronted on those beats too. You know what I mean? Like, because I know people who like, yo, I don't even like it was written. That's trash. And I'm like, come on, nigga. Like, I get it. You don't like the Trackmaster, but it's trash. Come on, stop. Like, but that's how big, like, the Trackmasters were Satan to a boom back book pack wearing dude. They were Satan. It's literally like, if you find out like this singer is a Satanist, you may be like, oh, I don't fuck with him no more. Like, that's what the Trackmasters was. If it said produced by the Trackmasters, I'm telling you, it was already getting in the mud. But we go back in time, Men in Black niggas, and we just mix them credits up, keep the same beats on it was written, but put Large Pro and Q-Tip and RZA and Premier and Pete Rock. I guarantee you, it was written as another 5 mic classic. Guarantee you.
Absolutely. And again, that's because, and we're gonna get to how the raucous movement and a lot how that research of the underground tried to offset 1997, tried to offset, I guess, Puff and Mace, just like in 98 when Black Star album, that Children's Story. I mean, at the end of the day, that was Mos Def version of One Day, like J. Root. Right. 2 years prior.
And the thing I want listeners to understand is, from an industry standpoint and a making music standpoint, when we get the music, this music may have been sitting for a minute. You know what I mean? Which was why 96, 97 was such a hard year, because let's say Large Professor is the LP. He finishes that in 95. We going to release it in 96. But now 96, the radio sounds different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now Geffen is looking like, we got this raw SP 1200 dusty sounding album that would have went probably great in 95. But now that it's 96, that shit don't fit. So you know what? We're going to have to shelve that shit, because don't nobody here at this table think any of these songs are going to be able to compete with what's on the radio. So for a lot of people, I just want listeners to keep that in mind, that MCs were in a hard predicament when hip hop is changing. So you started to show off perfectly about the eras. Say you're at the tail end of an era and now a new era has started, but your album was recorded at the end of this era. Now you got a new era. Fuck do you do? So I got this boom bap album that was recorded at the end of the boom bap era, but now it's the Shiny Suit era, or it's the Swiss era.
Yeah.
That's why so many albums got shelved. I think between 96 and probably 98, probably more hip hop albums got shelved than probably any other time in the 50 years of hip hop, because so much was changing. You know what I mean?
Radio was changing. That's kind of what it was. But you know what? Also crazy too. You know what I'm saying? Well, let me put it this way: the commercial versus the underground became a thing. You know, and it became a thing. Like I said, I felt like it became a thing in '96, and it rolled over into 1997. But at the same time, you still had cannabis going up to the radio stations doing these freestyles, and you start having like Corrupt and and all these spitters doing that in 1997.
Right.
And when did The Professional come out? I think it might have came out in 98. But nevertheless,
a
lot of people in 98 were still trying to offset 97. 97 gets smashed in between 1996 and 1998, and I think it's judged a little unfairly. For example, again, just looking back at this list, the War Report by CNN. You know what I'm saying? When I first heard Top of New York, I was like, this is a Mobb Deep shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is New York. Yeah. you know, that whole album, you know, Tragedy put his spin
Blood
on
Money.
Blood. Oh my goodness, man. What's the other joint, man? Not Blood Money. There's another joint on that that's hard as hell, man. Halfway Thugs. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Capone Orega, the Beat Nuts had Stone Crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna tell you real quick, 1997 was important to me because most people know that up until this 6th album run by Nas, Rakim been my GOAT since I was a kid.
Okay.
So Rakim has been my, I know, contrary to popular belief on Twitter, because people know I love Nas.
Right.
And I've been listing my top 10 for 10 years on Twitter, and Rakim being #1 on it every time. You can fact check me. People can go back right now and pull them up. It's on my website, IntoTheDome.com. Rakim has been my GOAT since I was a kid. And that whole long stretch when I'm like, damn, man, after Don't Sweat the Technique, what Rakim gonna do? The shit with Dre didn't work. Dre wanted Rakim to be damn DOC or some shit. I don't know what Dre was doing. It didn't work. Rakim is never gonna change the way he rhymes. You know what I'm saying? So when I get the 18th letter and I hear the tracks on there, and I was like, he hasn't missed a beat. You know, like Rakim sounded amazing for me on the 18th letter, and on the double CD part, the second CD disc was the Arabian Rakim Greatest Hits
stuff,
which was great for people who might have been new to or being reintroduced to Rakim. But that joint, Remember That, The Saga Continues, produced by Pete Rock.
Pete.
You know what I'm saying? Like you go back and look at that track list. It's been a long time. Like I was so satisfied that KRS does I Got Next. You know what I'm saying? And
Rappers Are in Danger.
Rappers Are in Danger, and the MC. And I'm like, is anybody else hearing this shit? Because we got 1997, we got people who debuted a decade before that in 87.
Coming out, killing it.
KRS and Rakim sounding great, man. And then Camp Low comes out, Uptown Saturday Night. I'm in the clubs, going back to this episode starting. I'm in the club. Lucina is blazing the club.
Yeah.
Lucina is blazing the club.
I tell people, if you play Lucina and you don't smile, you the feds, nigga. Something wrong. I can't trust you, man.
It's a feel-good song. And when you put that album in, shout out to Ski.
Ski killed that album.
Winston-Salem. Ski Beats is from Greensboro. I went to school at UNCG A&T. Ski knew my people. We used to see him around the way sometime. He grew up with one of my frat brothers, you know what I'm saying? So when Ski left North Carolina, went to New York, man, and got in with them guys because he's Original Flavor. And Original Flavor used to perform down here all the time. Jay-Z used to come down here when Jay-Z was getting on. A lot of people don't know that. Jay spent time in the South. You know what I'm saying? And that's when he was rhyming different. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. But he was down with Ski. He was down with Original Flavor.
Because they ain't managed Original Flavor.
Facts. So, when he ended up blowing up, we'll get into that feeling that part when he gave to that. That was Camp Low joint. But nevertheless, Camp Low dropped a great album. Ski did a tremendous job with the production. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was nothing that we had ever heard before. They was kicking the good time 70s slang, but they was street shit with it if you really listen to it.
It's funny. I got to shout out my man What Up Vern. We saw it, and I posted like maybe yesterday on Twitter or whatever. I was like, this 5 mic class. He was like, yo, how is this a 5 mic classic with all this gibberish that they talking or whatever like that? I said, bro, here's the thing. You know what I mean? My biggest thing is making dope songs. You know what I mean? There's a lot of super lyrical niggas who don't have a great song. Any human being on earth would die to have Lucini under their belt as an artist. Anybody would die for that. I said, my nigga, I don't know what CL Smooth is talking about 93% of the time, but the shit sound good. You know what I mean?
One rumor was Jay-Z was trying to get Lucini. You know what I'm saying?
I heard that too.
Now, Camp Low told a story. Jay-Z did hear the feeling it joint, and he asked because they hadn't solidified it. He asked, could he get it? You know what I'm saying? And Ski gave it to me, and that's on the interview with Camp Low, and it was cool. They're like, Jay ended up, they gave it to him. We was cool, no biggie kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But you can tell Jay-Z studied that song and really liked that song because he did. He took the flow. You know what I'm saying?
And that was my beat, because my biggest thing is, to me, you can't steal a beat. Stealing a beat would be like you're an MC, you MC Tone, and I just take your beat like an Ice Cube thing. At the end of the day, Jay said, "Yo, Ski, I want that beat."
Yeah.
Ski said,
and it wasn't on their album. They were just they had a lot of songs that they were recording, so it wasn't.
You know what I mean? Same thing happened with Ye with the Izzo beat. That was Cam's beat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Cam was mad at Ye, like, "Yo, nigga, you gave that beat to me. Why'd you give it to Jay?" So I didn't even look at it like, "Oh, Jay stole the beat." I just had never heard the original Feeling It with Cam until the other day when my man White sent it to me.
Yeah,
I was just like, "Oh shit, damn, Jay." Like, I was more like, "Damn, Jay took the whole flow and everything." It wasn't just the beat, because at the end of the day, truth be told, it's like, "Yo, can't blow Jay-Z, my nigga. I gotta get his shit to Jay." You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? Sonny Chiba and Geechee Sway, they are dope MCs, and they live down here. You know what I'm saying? So I used to work out with one of them a little bit every now and then. A couple of years ago, real cool. I think Geechee Sway, the cool dude. So shout out to Geechee Sway, man. Yeah.
Which one? Here's a play. I can't ever tell them. Which one sounds like Butterfly-ish from Butterfly from Diggle Plants? One of them niggas sounded just like him, and I loved it because he was on the album. Like, I was like, "That's dope as shit."
I think that's
Geechee Sway. Okay.
Sonny Chiba, dark skin nigga with a dope ass voice. You know what I'm saying? But Geechee Sway, I think at the time, way back, and they was dating this girl used to play ball with us, and we always been in the same complex, hooping and stuff. And I talked to him plenty of times, man. I remember the first time I met dude, and I was like, "Man, y'all album Uptown Saturday Night, man, I play that shit like all the time. It's a classic." He was like, "Word, man, you think it's a classic? Man, I appreciate that, brother. You know, like, it was just real. He had good energy, good vibe, cool ass, funny dude. You know, every time I ran past him, you know, he always showed the love. Just a real cool dude, man. But yeah, man, what they did, and real quick about, since we're talking about Jay-Z real quick, I'm going to get the volume 1 too. But if you think about the slang I was saying about Camp Lo, Jay-Z, when I think about Cashmere Thoughts on Reasonable Doubt, he kind of give me that player. I mean, he was Jay-Z was some pimp shit on Cashmere Thoughts, and it was different than every other song on Reasonable Doubt. But it reminded me of some of the shit that Sonny Chiba and them be talking about on Camp Lo. You know what I'm saying? I think they had been listening to some unreleased Camp Lo with Ski. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nothing wrong with that, because what people on Twitter don't understand sometimes is, man, all of the greats influenced by somebody unless you was first.
Yeah.
You know, even Rakim was influenced by Cass. He said that. Now he elevated everything, but you had to listen to something before you.
Yeah. One thing I always tell people, James Mtume had this quote where he says, "There's imitation, there's emulation, and then there's innovation." So anything that you do as an artist, you're 9 times out of 10 going to start out imitating somebody. So if you listen to all my old beats from back in 94, 95, they all primo. Everything from the kicks to the snares to the different little noise every 4 bars. And then you should get to a place of emulation where you're trying to find yourself. You know what I mean? So every beat may still have something primo-ish in it, but then you're trying to find something that's going to make it your own. And then he was saying, if you're blessed enough, then you'll get to emulation where you're doing your own thing. Now your beats doesn't sound like whoever you were trying to sound like. And I think we have to understand that most people, unless you were the first, you're imitating somebody. If you're an artist, if you're a painter, you have somebody's style that you like and you're doing their style. And then, so it's like those 3 layers. And some people get stuck. Some people get stuck in just the imitation, and you're just imitating whoever you want to sound like. And then some people get stuck in the emulation, and then you may not get to innovation to where you actually now have your own sound. There was a time when Alchemist sounded very primo-ish, you know, when he first started. But then he went through the phases, and now he has his own sound. Now he's at a point where other people are imitating him. And, you know, and nowadays with a lot of hip hop, they just stay in the imitation phase because they're just doing whatever everybody else is doing. You're not using drums? Okay. I'm going to just loop up these drums and that's just it. So.
No, it's a perfect example. And before I get to this other album, I want to just pick it back off you real quick. When you said about Alchemist, same thing with Jay Dilla. You heard that Pete Rock and Q-Tip at first because I think Pete Rock was his favorite producer at one point.
Yeah, Pete is his favorite producer.
And of course, he loved Q-Tip. So you heard some of that, even with wordplay and some of that shit on Beats, Rhymes, and Life. You heard some Q-Tip influence and some Pete Rock and all that throughout that album. But as he elevated, he ended up doing shit like 10 Bricks. You know what I'm saying? So he took and went to a whole other level to the point where after he passed, other producers in different genres was taking his style.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Madlib talks about that after Dilla died. It was like, what we gonna do now? You know what I mean? Like, and for people out there, for when Dilla does things like, you know, using the same Minnie Riperton sample, well, he actually used the joint off the Love Jones for that. Dilla would practice using old beats, you know, or let me see what I could do with this Pete Rock beat. That beat, Little Brother, that was on the Hurricane soundtrack for Black Stone. That was him just fucking around because that was an interlude off the main ingredient that Pete had used. And Quest would say that Dilla would just be in the studio just trying to fuck with shit, but he would be like, yo, don't play that shit for Pete. Like, I don't want him to think I'm being disrespectful, like using the sample that he used. I'm just practicing. But what would happen is this practicing beats was so dope that niggas wanted them. You know what I mean? So it does come down to that, like you said, it's just them, you know, but we all go through it. So to me, there's nothing wrong with being influenced. You know, someone asked me about that today with Big L, because I was like, well, when I first heard L, he kind of reminded me of Lord Finesse. I didn't think he was fighting Lord Finesse. I think it was just influenced by it. But so there's a difference in between. Then somebody was like, what's the difference between influence and what was it? Like somebody asked me like paying homage to somebody. And I'm like, well, to me, if you're paying homage to somebody, if I'm paying homage to the Dice and I'm doing one song with the Iggity, that's not going to be my whole career. That's not paying homage. If I'm going to pay homage to you, I'm going to do one song. Or Elzai, he paid homage to Nas with one album. Yeah. But when you're paying homage or saluting somebody, that shouldn't be your whole style. Like, that's biting at that point. So, I mean, it's different things. But, yeah, I don't think anything was wrong with Jay being influenced by that flow or anything like that, man. Not at all.
Yeah, and you know what? We on 1997. When I think about In My Lifetime Volume 1, you know, Come Out the Reasonable Doubt, I was one of the few people, in my little circle, we wasn't mad. I wasn't mad at all. Again, Sunshine, yeah, the shit sucked. You know what I'm saying? He admit that to this day, like, I wish I wouldn't have done that joint.
Right.
I don't like I Know What Girls Like either. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was him. He was on a No Way Out tour for real quick. He was he was trying to make him a little single, you know, big at pass, like, you know, trying to get on the radio a little bit. But at the same time, 1,000,001, Where I'm From, you know, You Must Love Me. You know what I'm saying? Lucky Me, all this. I mean, Jay-Z was introspective on Volume 1. Streets is Watching. He was super lyrical. You know what I'm saying? Like I said a few minutes ago, some of his best rappers. So, you know, and people sleep. Volume 1 went platinum. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, it's like he was on his way. And then we know what happened 1 year later, which, again, like I said, this is 1 year. We're talking about 1997. But real quick, because I know we're talking about a lot of East Coast people right now, let me give a shout out in North Carolina and to people under me in the South. Shout out to Master P Ghetto D album that came out in 1997. Because I'm going to tell you, for the dirty South, people was really rocking with Master P, bro. And No Limit was starting to catch flames. He releasing albums every damn week. You know what I'm saying? And that Ghetto D was one of the ones that really put them on that next level. And it was sold millions of records and it was critically acclaimed. So that's what Master P really, really popped off. And
you know the thing with me, man, is I miss so much hip hop like that. You know what I mean? Because again, like I said, I ain't got no problem admitting, man. I was in my asshole boom bap. If it ain't boom bap, I don't want to hear the shit bag.
But you're honest. I mean? You're honest though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's the one thing. Like, I don't know why niggas be lying. Like my man Rollo, God bless the dead. This was my man, and he would be on Twitter like, "Yeah, I always fuck with Lil Wayne." And I'm like, "Whoa, stop! We was together every day at Morgan. You ain't never played no Lil Wayne. Like, why are you trying to make it be cool now to say you like Lil Wayne or whatever like that?" And I would joke with him about it, but I'm just keeping it a buck. Like, and somebody was saying today something about E40, and I said, "Here's the thing, bro. I think with certain styles of music, you kind of gotta be there or be." Because there's this show, I don't know if you ever watched this show. I think it's on Showtime. It's called Blind Spot.
I haven't seen it.
It's about this shorty who her man go to jail. Her and her little son gotta go live with his parent, with his mom and his sister. But it's set in the Bay. It's set in Oakland, and Oakland hip hop plays a huge part of this show. And it's funny because I'm watching the show and I'm like Shazam and shit. And I'm like, oh shit, that's too short. Like, oh shit, that's E40. Like, and I'm like, and you're seeing the way Oakland gets down, like the dances they doing with the music and everything. And it's like after a season of that show, now I'm driving to work playing E40. You know what I mean? So I always tell people, like when I get into it with my peoples from the West Coast and like from Houston and down south, I'm like, bro, you gotta understand, man. I didn't have that family. I ain't spend no summers in Cali. I didn't get a chance to go to fucking Houston for the summer and hang out with the cousin. A lot of niggas I meet on Twitter, they was in the military. So they traveled. You know what I mean? It was around different. I'm sorry, y'all. I was just in Philly and Brooklyn and Baltimore. For 25 years. I'm sorry. I didn't. My mom's didn't have. I didn't have family all over the globe. I'm sure if I fucking spent every summer in Houston instead of Brooklyn, I would have a bigger appreciation for what they do over there. You know what I mean? And I just want people to know that because I feel like it's always y'all East Coast motherfuckers. But you got to understand, for us, there was a level of arrogance. The West Coast and down south, if you like hip hop, then you had to listen to us. You had to, because we was all y'all motherfuckers had. We didn't have to listen to y'all.
It ain't nothing wrong with that, but I really wish, especially when we talk about hip hop Twitter, that what you just said just now, I wish people admitted that. Like, you know what? It's cool if you're a boom bap nigga, and that's hip hop to you because you was in that tunnel vision. That's what you do every day. That's what you lived. That's cool. If you didn't travel, you didn't see shit, that's fine. Me, I'm one of the lucky ones where I'm from North Carolina, it's a melting pot. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I spent time in New York. I got family in New York. I got family in Atlanta. I got people in Florida. I got people out west. I did a lot of moving around and traveling and stuff like that as a hip hop head. So the same way
can you just talk a little bit about how that was able to open your ears?
Dude, because think about this. So I'm in North Carolina growing up in the early 80s, and obviously at the time New York is New York. You going to Rakim and KRS, I fell in love with all of that, right? So then by the time the mid-90s happened, I got family in Atlanta. I go down there and it's like, oh, this Outkast. I saw the video with them cats, but now I'm in College Park and I'm seeing how people dress in the cars, the culture. So when you hear the music play down there in the Atlanta clubs, and I hear Outkast, Goody Mob, which I always tell people that Goody Mob Soulful album, one of the greatest albums I've ever heard in hip hop. Oh, but anyway, so I'm in there hearing the music as it does. I'm in New Orleans. I hear Master P while I'm in New Orleans.
Right.
I'm like, do you understand how large he was and the culture, the way they dress, talk, the cars, the lingo, everything. So if you haven't lived that, you don't understand the impact of the region. That's why I said hip hop is a region thing too. You know what I'm saying? The same way somebody say, oh, I love Cool G rap. Well, go to Houston and they'll tell you Scarface is the GOAT.
Right. You know right. Like, and that's what I love what you're explaining, because you were able, moving around, you're able to hear that. Like I compared to Go-Go. When I first came to Morgan, the only thing I knew about Go-Go was EU's Doing the Butt from the School Day soundtrack. Right. That's it. And whatever little Go-Go Herbie Love Bug was using, Rolling with Kid and Play, or Salt and Pepper, that's all I knew about Go-Go. Came to Morgan, I was like, yo, this music is trash. The fuck are y'all talking about? But from living in DC the last 23 years, I fucking love Go-Go. You know what I mean? Yeah, but you gotta be there to really, really get it. And God bless the people who don't, because I'm sure there are people who would just spend all their life on the East Coast, but they were able to love E40. They were able to love all these different things. Like, God bless them. That just wasn't me. You know what I mean? So that's the thing with Twitter. If people really fuck with me and follow me, they know somebody was like, yo, you ain't never heard no 8-Ball and MJ Jim? Yo, MJG, yo, listen to this album. And I'll go listen to it. I'll go listen to it. Like, that's the thing. I'm not even on no shit like, I don't want to hear. I'm like, yo, I missed out on a lot of hip hop being on my asshole, John. So give it to me. You know me. I ain't listening to DJ Quick because the nigga had a perm. I was like, bro, I got perm. I ain't listening to that nigga. Porsche love him. So I'm like, yo, give me some Quick. I'm like, yo, I fuck with it. It's good. So I do regret. That is one of my regrets, being in my boom bag bag.
You being a producer, though, DJ Quick, real quick, off subject, is one of the most diverse beat makers you'll ever hear, man. That dude, I don't know if you ever heard The Hearts of Men on Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
Yeah. But with Quick is dope, and I think that's the thing. That's what I regret. Right, that's what I regret. I regret being so much, I don't know if it's an asshole. I don't know what closed-minded. I hate the fact that literally I just saw this nigga with a perm, and I was like, fuck, nah, I'm good. And then he didn't
fit the mold. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And again, I wish I didn't, but it just is what it is. And now I'm trying to make up for it. I'm like, yo, niggas.
I have these debates with people on Twitter all the time, and for some people, I'm like, look, and they'll halfway admit that, and I'm like, look, if you wasn't exposed to something or wasn't open-minded enough, I'm telling you from the perspective of somebody who lived it, who's around all these different regions, and I see the effect. Just like I said about Scarface just now in Houston, in 1997 when Scarface dropped Untouchable with that Smile for Me with Tupac and all that on there, people love Scarface, bro. You know what I'm saying? And people call Untouchables one of his best albums. You know what I'm saying? And that's 1997 as well. So that just goes to show you the amount of work in that year. So if you're in Houston, you thinking, shit, hip hop just fine. Scarface dropped the Untouchable. We're talking about 1997. If I'm in New Orleans and all that, hip hop just fine. Master P just dropped Ghetto D. After Ray was about it and all that, but now he done blew up with Ghetto D commercially. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it go. You know what I'm saying? Like
I just wish more people could understand that from the West Coast, from down south, because I get it. It was the same way with Philly. Being from Philly, New York was the shit. You know what I mean? And it was like, yo, always trying to prove yourself. So I get, you know, the West Coast feeling like they always had to prove themselves, and down south feeling that they had to prove themselves. So I totally get it. I just want them boys to know that, at least for me, it's not an East Coast bias, because to me, East Coast bias is, yo, here's an MC from the West Coast, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? And where I'm at right now, I'm like, yo, I may listen to it, I may not like it, but that's still not East Coast bias. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I don't like it. Like, if somebody says, yo, they don't like Beans, I ain't gonna be like, oh, that's West Coast bias. You don't like Beans because he ain't from West. It don't even enter my mind to even, you just don't like Beans. I mean, cool, whatever, you know?
I've been lucky, kid, because, you know, Tribe Called Quest my favorite group. Everybody, you know, people that follow me know Tribe's my favorite group. It's real quick. It started Run DMC. It went to EPMD. It went to Tribe. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the way it's been. Hip MCs. It was Rakim and it's Nas. You know what I'm saying? For me, even though I love Big J and all of them, et cetera, et cetera. But for other groups and just versatility, man, the way I love Mobb Deep is the way I love UJK, 8 Ball, MJG. The way I love the Dog Pound. You know what I'm saying? So I've been lucky that I really love. I listen to Dog Food all the time. Same way I listen to Hell on Earth. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people can't understand that because they stuck in that one sound of that one region. And this is why 1997, initially, when I did episode 2, I said the disrespect of 1997 hip-hop, because I've named 15, 16 albums already from that year that some people really, really love. So, yes, Puff and Mace and Big songs did dominate a lot in the clubs. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he made those joints for. Right. You know what I'm saying? For people to dance. Puff wanted people to dance. And for me being a party dude at the time, I needed those songs.
Right.
I DJ needed those songs to play. You know, if you want to go to hear some underground shit, then you can go, you know, you can go down the street and listen. That nothing wrong with that. I'll see y'all down there later after I finish here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's cool. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said 1997 has got this stigma. One more question for you too about an album is, what did you think about Organized Confusion, the Equinox album?
Bro, favorite Organized album. Favorite album. You know what I mean? Right there. Like, so slept on. I mean, In Vitro was on that shit. Sound Man, Somehow, Some Way. Just an incredible album. I think the thing that album taught me that with Organized, you got to pay attention. Like when I first put it on, I was trying to like clean my crib while listening to it, and it was like, yo, I can't. This is you guys sit down and really think.
You gotta ride to it on a road.
Yeah. You gotta really give it your attention. This ain't no I'm writing a paper and it's on in the background type thing. And I think that's why maybe I sometimes wonder why Organized didn't really blow up. You know what I mean? And I wasn't always a fan of their production. I think this was their best produced album.
Oh, I think so too.
But I think sometimes they were just like crazy deep. You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, you had to pay attention. You know what I mean? Like,
it was funny. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I saw today someone talking about Balloon Mind State with De La Soul. And what's funny is,
I had a dude tell me it was horrible.
Yeah, I thought it was a good album, but the problem was to me is De La Soul at times was so brilliant, and Balloon Mind State is actually brilliant. So it reminds me of some Organized Confusion album,
Right.
because for Organized Confusion, they was almost too lyrical for their own good. They weren't trying to be. That's just their style.
Yeah, that's just who they was.
And again, they didn't have an award tour or electric relaxation to take them over the top. So you had to kind of be an underground East Coast purist almost to appreciate Organized Confusion, which is why it was good that Pharaoh had Simon Says to kind of get them in the mainstream, because and he was still lyrical in that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I thought somehow, some way was gonna do something, because I love the chorus, the Snoop. Somehow, some way we keep coming up with funky fly shit every
That's
other.
the underground to me, though.
Yeah. No. I feel you. I was hoping it would, but it's like you said, it just wasn't. It just wasn't in the cards for Organized to kind of be that group.
What did you think about the Crew's Dirty 30, man?
I always joke, if they ain't have 752 songs on there, that shit would have been crazy, man. That album had like 30-some songs on there, man. Even with little interludes. 30 songs, but I loved it. But I love Crew from the first time with Just Another Case. My shit was Pronto, man. That was my shit. Pronto was my shit. You know what I mean? Incredible. Yeah, and then Yogi, Yogi went on to be one of the hitmen with Puff. Yeah. So I thought they were slept on. There was a lot of slept on albums that year, 90. When you look at, it's funny, from doing the homework on this, I'm like, fuck, 97 was kind of like a crazy year. Like, you know what I mean? But I think it's like you said, it's just like that was the Shiny Suit era. But what you're doing is kind of pulling back the layers to show it really wasn't. Because I got dope albums, I got slept on albums. Like, there's a lot of.
I want you to talk about that too. But the reason why, and that's the reason why I titled this the Mythical Shiny Suit Era. It was a Shiny Suit year for commercial hip hop.
Right.
But see, I'm not one of these people who. That's why I joke with people all the time on Twitter about being a boom bap kid. I'm not one of the people. There's nothing wrong with commercial hip hop. Commercial hip hop has always been here. It has its place, just like the street bangers have its place, and the underground joints have their place. The conscious joints have their place. I don't want to listen to X Clan all day or Pro Righteous Teacher, but I'll listen to the album. Then I'll turn around. I want to listen to Mama Said Knock You Out. You know what I'm saying? So that's the whole thing. Now, you do meet them certain people who, if it don't sound like this right here, 24/7. I got so many people following me who got straight up music tunnel vision. If it don't sound like motherfucking Pete Rock produced it, that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So they can't appreciate, you know what I'm saying, Quick or Dash or Battle Cat, Mailman, all these people like that, because it has to sound like, it's from a tree of, you know what I'm saying, Marley Marl. You know what I'm saying?
I think, another point down thinking of what you said with commercialized hip hop, I think for me, again, being a producer, it was different with the track master, because again, you're just looping up songs we know. Like, I look at what Puff was doing with Big was literally just what Hev was doing. Like, Heavy was the blueprint to
He was.
But literally, Hev's commercial stuff was Got Me Waiting, which is a Pete Rock beat.
It's a Pete Rock beat.
So it's not like Hev was just rhyming over fucking, Upside Down by Diana Ross.
Right, that's true.
Even commercialized hip hop back then was still original beats. Got Me Waiting is probably a top 5 Pete Rock beat for me.
Man, it's one of my favorite Pete Rock beats.
Most people will be like, nigga, top 5 for me. I love that. I love that joint.
Me too.
So I think that's where commercialized hip hop in 95 and 96 started to rub people the wrong way, because it's just same way when Big was like, you want me to rhyme over Juicy? Like, just that? Like, give me some boom bap shit. And it's like, nah, that's what we gotta do to get on the radio and everything like that. So I think, and I can only speak for myself, again, just the producer in me, that it was just the looping up the hits. Like, if Mace would have had a commercial song that wasn't just looping up Hollywood Swinging by Kool and the Gang, I think more boom bap people may have not hated it, but it wouldn't have been frowned upon. But it was just
anything that's already familiar, like
anything that's already familiar. So even though Hab was doing black coffee, no sugar, no cream, no tea, it was an original song.
You didn't know.
So even though it was commercial, I don't know no boom bap people who like hated that shit. I've never heard nobody ever say nothing bad about Heavy D. Truth be told, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about the Nothing But Love album. I got Nothing But Love. That is nothing but commercialized hip hop. We was never playing that shit on Strictly Hip Hop, but it was an original beat. So, and I think that's kind of like the difference, at least coming from a producer standpoint. I think that was the difference with commercialized hip hop, was Heavy was doing it, But what y'all was doing was like, it's almost like cheating. It's almost like, what was that when the Patriots was like stealing signs or something? Like stealing.
There was recording the plays and
right, something like that. Like that's what it was. It's like if the Patriots are winning, like we do hate y'all, but fuck it, y'all winning, y'all win. But fuck, y'all winning, cheating. Like y'all stealing plays. Like
y'all Stargate.
Right, that's what it felt like. That it's like, yo, we don't mind y'all winning, but y'all winning in a way that's just making it lazy. You know what I mean?
And I can see how, especially how a producer would think that. Now, again, you know, if a song was already popular in the 70s and 80s, and we use that for a commercial track, it's gonna catch traction faster, obviously, because you and your parents grew up listening to them songs, so it's relatable. So I think,
and again, if we just came from the club and the DJ was playing fucking Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out. Yeah. If she's playing Juicy and the crowd is going crazy, of course the crowd is gonna go crazy if you take that and you make Big Rhyme on top of that, or you take that. So to me, it was like, that's what it was like. Like when you throw on the Benjamins, somebody could technically say the Benjamins was a commercial record.
It was a commercial record to a degree.
But hip hop heads love that shit because it was an original beat. Like I think that's really with so much of the back and forth between the J. Rules and the Puffies and the track, they call them the Whack Masters. It was literally just about y'all are just taking the easy way out. You know what I mean? Because like you said, we always had commercialized hip hop, Salt and Pepper, commercialized hip hop. But you know that Get On Up shit. What, 5 years later, Funk Flex had Buckshot rhyming over that Get On Up joint. That shit was crazy. That Get Up beat was dope.
They did a video for it.
Right. So it's like I didn't know nobody who's like, man, fuck that Get On Up by Salt and Pepper. Like, nah, that shit dope.
I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of Funk Flex, Volume 2 came out in 97. And listen, bro. Man, that Funk Flex Volume 2 is some hip hop for your ass, bro.
Yes, sir.
To the end, the freestyles, man, everything about Funk Master Flex Volume 2 was flawless to me. It's my favorite Funk Master Flex.
Loud Records doing it.
It's my favorite Funk Flex album. It's one of my favorite albums of 1997. If that ain't hip hop, I mean, who's who of hip hop, underground and popular MCs are on that album? Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, if you
know what's on? I just thought of something, like a good analogy, because I wrote this down. It's almost, I was talking to my man earlier, and like to me, graph is like my number one element from hip hop. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because it was the dedication you had to have, because number one, you had to go into a store and steal spray paint. So from the door, you could get caught, you could get arrested, whatever. After you steal the paint, now you got to break into a train yard. You know what I mean? You could get arrested for that. You got to cut the wires. You got to go through. Then you got to watch out for cops. You got to watch out for rival crews who going to try and beat you up, rob you for your paint. And then even if none of that shit happens, now you got to stand here in the fucking dark and paint this 20-foot subway car just beautiful. Go back home and you do all of that shit just so you could be all city. You did all of that shit just to be all city. So it's like, those were the rules. Imagine if somebody was like, yo, we don't steal the paint. We got to hook up on paint, so we get the paint for free. Somebody may frown upon that. Like, nigga, you can't get paint for free. The whole point is stealing the paint. Then, yo, my uncle worked for the train station, so he gonna let us into the station. Like, nigga, you can't get let into the station. Part of the rule is you gotta break in. Like, nigga, what did you do it? Like, and then after that, yo, my uncle gonna put up floodlights so we could see. Like, it was almost like these are the rules. So it's like y'all taking the easy way out. Like, you know what I mean? So I think like that was the big piece with the track masters that so many producers had a problem with, because it's almost like these are the rules. Even going back to Grandmaster Flash, when they would be like, yo, he's DJing, but he's putting like stickers over the label. So whoever's behind him can't look over and be like, oh, what record you spinning? Because back in those days, you had to have certain records to rock a party. Yeah. So you had people who was like trying to ear hustle, like, yo, what record is that? Oh shit, let me go write that down. I'm gonna go get like, so we came up in the era we were hiding what we was using. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, I really honestly think that I would love to like hear a Pete or a Q-Tip or a real producer who was in the game kind of speak on this. But I think like that was really what it was, that it wasn't really against commercialized hip hop. Yeah. It was just how y'all are doing it. You know what I mean? Like if you listen to Midnight Marauders and you can't name a sample. Like I feel like that's what hip hop was. Like
it was, but you know, again, it was like that for New York and on the East Coast. Because on the West Coast, when Dr. Dre started this Parliament Funkadelic type shit with the Chronic, I mean, you know, they had their own style on the West Coast and in the Deep South at the time, and they did some, you know, they took some old joints. Dr. Dre,
but see, for me, like I know, for me, I didn't know "Let Me Ride." I didn't know the sample. I didn't know the Nothing But a G Thing sample. Like, did I know Ghetto Boy? So even in those situations where you may take a song, the average hip hop head had no idea what Primo.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know a lot about Parliament Funkadelic like that.
Nobody knew what Pete Rock used for fucking "The World Is Yours," you know. So I think that was the thing. So, and again, it's this why I love the conversation, because I'm even thinking too, like, why didn't we hate commercial hip hop then? But we had, because y'all was just taking the easy way out. Y'all was just sampling shit.
And that was mostly Bad Boy. That was Puff Forward.
But I think it really, with the track masters, it really, because you take it back to Juicy. You take it back to Juicy. So I'm thinking maybe that's why De La and them was like, y'all are changing this and all that, because the Shiny Suit Era is, like you said, it's 97, because we see them in the suits now.
Yeah,
but
that is true. Now, I like to always try to defend the track masters too, like we said a few minutes ago.
Me too. Bro, trust me. Them dudes, they can do both, and I get it. It's like, nigga, this shit don't pay the bills. This pay the bills. Totally understand it. But I don't know if you saw D-Dot's interview on Math Hoffa, where he's very upset. But I'm like, here's the thing, bro. You made music because in one minute you're like, yo, I go to the mailbox, I get my checks. Well, you got that. But guess what? You may not get the respect though. Because while people are still talking about Dilla, Pete Rock, Q-Tip, we still hold them in the highest standards of everything. Nobody is on Twitter bigging up the track masters. Nobody's on Twitter talking about D-Dot.
It's unfortunate, and that's the reason why I did that post. And it caught a lot of traction the other year with track masters, and when I list all them songs and stuff like that, because I like to go against the grain, as you already know.
Right.
I hate popular narrative. So my thing was, you know what? Y'all say the track masters make them tracks, and they do. But let me also let you know,
they got bangers.
All of this shit right here. Yeah. Okay, then I got people hitting me like, dude, I had no idea. I know you didn't, but I did. I'm trying to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? So, I think, again, the sometime with hip hop kill, you know, growth can be scary in hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So when we talk about 95 with Puff saying, hey, let me give you these track master guys or whoever do this Juicy. Because look, Biggie would rap, every song would sound like a Machine Gun Funk. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
With Puff, like, get it, bro. And I'm gonna let you got Unbelievable and all that shit. Hey, I called Primo to do this track with you, bro. I know you like that shit right there, but man, you gotta hear this so I can get you on the radio, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of artists start saying, hey, I am gonna take a quick route, get this 80s Diana Ross sample, whoever. Right. Let's get on the radio real quick, and then on the album, we'll get some for these backpack niggas. That's how that start thinking. Even with Puff, he like, okay, you know, I'm gonna have tracks to get us popping, but we're gonna also have, you know, Stevie J them gonna make Notorious Thugs for these Midwest niggas. We're gonna make.
At the end of the day, you got to get that balance. You got to get that balance. I mean, I'm not the greatest fan of If I Ruled the World, but it's what you had to do.
And I thought 97 had so much balance as opposed to a lot of people. Now again, we talking about the clubs, Puff, Mace, big joints. He got quite a few songs, but we just listed 15, 16, 17 albums. If you don't like, you know what I'm saying, what's on the radio or what's in the club, cool. I need them clubs joints to bang for these.
And bro, we ain't even talking about Artifacts. That's them.
Or the alcoholics. So give me some of your
liquidation.
So give me some of your sleepers for 1997.
My sleepers was Trey Lee's Many Faces, Artifacts, that's them, The War Report, CNN, The Crew, Dirty 30, Alcoholics Liquidation, and Organized Confusion, Equinox. Because I never really hear you'll hear people from time to time talk about The War Report, you know, but I rarely ever hear people talk about Many Faces, that's them, Dirty 30, Liquidation, or Equinox. Like, almost never hear them talking about that.
What do you think about Busta Rhymes' album When the Disaster Strikes?
I fucked with it. It's not one of my favorite. Busta I fuck with it. You know what I mean? But it wasn't like one of my favorite joints. Like, of course, Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. I mean, I give it a solid 3.5, 4. You know what I mean? But I won't hold you. It wasn't like an album that I constantly played like back to back like that. You know, and again, during this time, y'all got, like I said, I'm in Atlanta. I'm not working. I'm working like a little part-time gig. So I'm broke. So it's like, my affinity with these albums, like, yo, I paid my money, like, I need this to be good, my nigga. Like, you know, I felt like a little kid again. Like, I felt, yo, that's crazy. I just thought about it. It's like back when I was in 7th grade, and me and my man Lloyd Cross was in the record store, and it was like, yo, EPMD and the Jungle Brothers, like, shit, we don't got enough money to buy both. You buy one and I buy the other. Like, I felt like that all over again in 97. Like, nigga, I gotta try and keep money for food and woo, woo, woo. So I can't buy everything. So that's the weird part of 97 for me too. I didn't hear everything because I couldn't buy everything. You know what I mean?
So I lived right, you know, so my dorm at that time was literally not even a block from a record store called School Kids. You know what I'm saying? And I lived in school. I worked for the school, so I was like a dorm director. So I got a check every month, bro. You know
right. So you was good.
I'm not gonna front to you. 50% of my money went to music. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing new. You know, maybe more than that. So, you know, I bought a lot of music, but when I think about 1997, you know, Life After Death came out in 1997. And when I think about now, when I look back at what Biggie and Puff and Bad Boy did with Life After Death, like, you talking about a flawless performance of how to MC. You know what I'm saying? We talking about every style of music in the culture, to me, was displayed on Life After Death. You know what I'm saying? He gave you the conscious joints. To me, Sky's the Limit and all that. He gave you Niggas Bleed. He gave you My Long Kiss Goodnight. He gave you Hypnotized for the Club. He gave you he even did the damn what's your PSK joint. You know what I'm saying? B.I.G. is, you know what I mean? I mean,
what you was talking about Wu-Tang Forever, that's how I felt with Big. I'll never forget. I went in I got the album like early, like and then I remember going to Circuit City with my man to get it, and it was crazy because it was the first time I went to Circuit City, and usually just the music department will play music. The whole store was playing Biggie. Like the whole store. I've never seen that before. Like, yeah, I mean, for people out there who remember Circuit City, it's like, yo, you selling real shit. Like, yeah, you keep that music over there, but the whole store was playing it. The way Circuit City was up in Philly, you had to, like, you would buy something, like buy a VCR or something, and then you'd have to go in the basement to go pick it up. You know what I mean? The niggas in the basement already knew every line to the 10 Crack Commandments. They was like rhyming the 10 Crack Commandments. It just came the fuck out. Yeah. And niggas already... Everybody, like you were saying with Wu-Tang, everybody. See, I don't know. When I was in Atlanta and I caught Wu-Tang Forever, I ain't have no car. I was on the train, so I ain't even probably get it that first week because I ain't have no money for it. You know what I mean? So I ain't get to see the lines and all that. But for Life After Death, yeah, I was there for that, man. And it's funny that we saying it because prior to going to Atlanta, I'm at the radio station. I hit everything. I get every 12-inch. I get every exclusive in the world. But again, I gave up my superpowers and moved to Atlanta. That's why a lot of stuff I didn't get to hear because I didn't have a lot of money. Like, I was dead ass broke in Atlanta. So it was like, yo, every dollar I got went to 9 times either buying records to try to make beats or buying CDs. There ain't even no in between. Like, I remember me and my girl having to share a fucking pint of shrimp fried rice. I was so broke. Yeah. So I didn't even hear a lot of music because I didn't have no money to buy it. Like, you know what I mean? So it's crazy just talking with you, like, thinking like, damn, why didn't I hear that out? Nigga, I have no money to buy that album.
You know what's crazy? Just to put 97 in perspective real quick again, too, is during the year that this narrative just started running with people, and people got comfortable calling it a shiny suit era and the downfall of hip-hop, one of the worst years of hip-hop and all this stuff like that. It took a life of its own, especially with social media. It got even worse, you know what I'm saying, over the last 2 decades. But in the year of 1997, we get a Biggie Smalls album. We get Wu-Tang double CD. We get an album from KRS-One. We get an album from Rakim. We get an album from who else right here? Busta Rhymes. We got an album from Common Sense. We get the Organized Confusion. Jay-Z, Master P. You know what I'm saying? The Beat Nuts. Yeah. We get all of these Bone Thugs drop a joint. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the Alcoholics. You know what I mean? So in a year. it's just so funny to me when I remember about a year ago, I said, man, let me pull out a lot of my joints. Camp Low, one of my joints from 97. And I started pulling all these albums out with tape. I got tapes downstairs too. I posted on Twitter recently some of my tapes. And I was like, damn, that came out in 97. Scarface came out in 97. Stone Crazy by Beating Us came out in 97. I'm just looking at all my list. I was like, but this the Shiny Suit era. No, it's a year. And like again, I want to also preface it with saying, for me, Biggie died in March to spring 1998, the rise of DMX. You know what I'm saying? Pac dies in 96, Big dies in 97, DMX emerges in 1998. And I don't think people think that this 97, 98 is 5 years in between that.
Right.
It's a year. You know what I'm saying? And in 1998, you get a long list of everything from Nori debut solo album to Gemini to Big Pun album, Capital Punishment.
You get that day in 98 when it was Hard Knock Life, it was Brand Nubians, it was Tribe, it was Black Star, it was an Outkast, all dropping on one day.
This is the year after 1997. And then Flesh in My Flesh drops that also, with DMX dropping 2 platinum albums in the same year. So that's 1998. If you go look at the list of the greatest albums of 1998, it will floor you how many dope albums are in 1998. Now, Black Star comes out in 1998. They have their issues. They still speaking consciousness and all that. But then after that, the Raucous movement happened to bring the underground back up. And then with that coming, it made people really look at them sampling and everything in 1997. But that shit was terrible. So as the underground got more and more popular again after Raucous and all this shit like that, it really put a damper on the commercialization of Culture Mace in 1997, but 98 was the total opposite. Right.
Now you're right, man. And you had me really thinking about the 96, and I'm like even thinking it felt like I mean, De La said, we sick of Versace glasses and all that. It's like they were like dissing, they were just dissing specifically Big. You know what I mean? So it's like it really wasn't like they was dissing the Shiny Suit era. It was just we dissing Big. The Roots were what they do.
That's Biggie.
Big took offense to that.
And
you know what I mean?
Too, but it was really Biggie had a reason to get him at so
even with J. Rule's One Day, it's the same thing. It was really just about Big.
Yeah, he named Big and Puff and all them on Wrath of the Math. You know what I'm saying? So so he was dissing them, and it's funny when you say that now. So it starts with Biggie. Biggie is almost he's attacked by about commercialization of hip hop. That's why he came back on Life After Death and was like kicking the door. I'm going at all these niggas because you got shark niggas where Ray and Ghost in 95 taking shots at Biggie. Then you got J. Rule taking shots. You know what I'm saying? You got De La Soul saying what they saying, the Versace. That's Biggie and Puff. You know what I'm saying? So Plug 2 whole verse was dissing commercial hip hop. It was dissing Bad Boy. You know what I'm saying? The Roots and Questlove can say anything he damn want to. We all know look at that video in the bed, the girls, the champagne, the water. That's Juicy video.
Right.
So that's why I used the Shiny Suit mythology is Biggie's death to DMX rank.
And you're right. It ain't an era. It was a minute. It was a moment in time. That's what it was.
It was a moment in time for the clubs and the radio, but we still got all these other albums and creative people like your Camp Low and all these people in 1997, man. So, man, any other thoughts on 1997, man?
I mean, I just appreciate you doing the homework with it because, like you said, it's like if you really don't, because I was just listing albums, I'm like, damn, Camp, Life After Death, Wu-Tang, Beating Us, OC, Calm, Tracy Lee, Artifacts, I mean, it was just a crazy year for me. And like I said, I just want people to understand, like, again, when you're making music, like, it doesn't come out immediately. You know what I mean? So I don't think a lot of times people understand, like, a label would be like, okay, boom, Tone, your album is done. In 95, we're going to put out a single for 2 months. We're going to see how that do. So again, so many albums got shelved during this time because labels didn't know how to react. They didn't know how to get stuff on the radio. You know what I mean? Video budgets was crazy. You know what I mean? So you people wanted to get the big video. So I appreciate this because it's showing how dope a year 97 was. I will have to talk about 3 letdowns that were let down.
No question.
Number 1, Boot Camp Clicks, For the People album.
For the People.
That was a letdown. I was one of the few people who I loved Boot Camp more than Wu-Tang. Doesn't mean I love Wu-Tang to death, but I just really like Boot Camp Click. And I thought this was going to be it. I was like, okay, we done had End of the Stage, The Shining, we done had, Nocturnal, we done had The Storm. Yeah, this is it. We're finally, because again, Boot Camp was the opposite of Wu. Wu came with the whole album, then did they individuals. Yeah. Boot Camp is giving you the individuals. I thought this was going to be crazy. They wasn't fucking with the beat nuts. The beats was horrible. It was horrible. It was, and it's one of my most excited albums I was hyped for. Let Me Down. The second one, Mike Geronimo's Vendetta.
Oh my God, I was expecting so much after The Natural.
If people don't know nothing about me, I fucking love Mike Geronimo, The Natural. It's one of my favorite albums, probably top 10 album of the 90s, which is saying a lot because we saw how much shit just came out in 97. So I love The Natural. Master IC, like shit is real, just all that shit that's on it. I love that. So to get this, it's like the only thing that was on there was that Untouchable. I think it's Untouchable, Unstoppable. Pete Rock did it for him. But other than that, this was a letdown. And I feel you that through time, I've appreciated in my lifetime more. But when it dropped, I was crushed, because it was a half and half album to me. Like I pop it in, I'm hearing 1,000,001 questions, rhyme no more. I'm like, yo, this shit crazy. Then I hear The City Is Mine. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Then I hear I Know What I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? Then I hear Imaginary Players. I'm like, yo, we back. And then it's like Streets Is Mine. So to me, it was just a half and half album. But I'm like, if the last time you heard Jay was Regrets and Reasonable Doubt, to hear Sunshine, it was just like, oh man, But it's one of those crazy albums because some of Jay's best lines are on this album. Like where I'm from, I had this white boy who used to work with me back in the day. He'd be like, yo, Kill, you're like, how is it like not being disrespectful? How is it growing up in your neighborhood? I just played that nigga where I'm from. Literally. Like we could talk about that, but that's what it is. I mean, Rap Game, Crack Game, like that shit was crazy.
Absolutely.
Crazy other thing about my lifetime, that the video joint that went along with it. They had like the little they had like a video that went along with the joint. You remember that? And they had videos for the joint with him and Source, with the strippers. Then they had
watching DVD.
The Streets watching DVD. My bad. Yeah.
And they had a soundtrack to it.
Right. So I mean, even seeing the video for Friend or Foe 2, Streets Is Why, like. So, but it was like that Vendetta and that For the People, like Let Me Down. I know it's 98, but that Cocoa Brothers album Let Me Down too, man.
But I thought For the People, man, me being, because again, I'm a huge big Boot Camp fan. I just saw like a year ago, Buckshot perform. Knife had Buckshot here in town for the high school reunion, and every year he bring Brand Nubians and all Nice and Smooth and all that. So they come every year. A lot of those kind of acts. You know what I'm saying? And I was there because y'all love Buckshot, man. You know what I'm saying? And Into the Stage is one of my favorite albums of that era, like 93. The Shining. I'm a real big Helter Skelter fan. Even way before Sean P broke out, I was right with Helter Skelter. So I really thought that the expectation is high because you think of that Boot Camp album, that's going to be their version of 36 Chambers.
Exactly.
So, that's big shoes to fill because they had dropped so many great group albums, in their own pockets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and even at 12 inch, I mean, LaFleur, that shit was crazy. You know what I mean? I was ready for a Fab 5 album.
Yeah, man. Those were some letdowns, man. And I don't have too many letdowns outside of LL Cool J Phenomenon, man. I didn't love that. I didn't love that album. And if people that know me know, LL always been right there in my top 5. And if you say he the GOAT, I'm not gonna debate you. So I didn't love that album. I am glad that in the 90s that side note that he did have Mr. Smith. You know what I'm saying? Right. Mr. Smith was an amazing album. You know what I'm saying? And then later he dropped other great albums, dope albums. But Phenomenon was probably my biggest letdown. I didn't have too many letdowns in '97, to be honest with you. Some of them were just like I thought they were going to be. Biggie's Life After Death exceeded my expectations because I was like, you know, I can't, outside of taking that song Another with Lil' Kim off, and that Player Hater joint is just him having fun.
Right.
If you think about the album with over 20 songs, it's one of the, it's probably,
to me it's the best double album.
Yeah, you know it is. And we talk about greatest albums in terms of everything encompassing putting the album together. It's one of the greatest rap albums ever.
It's got something for everybody. I'll never forget the first time I heard the Bone Thugs joint. I was blown the fuck away. That's
one of my favorite songs on the album.
I was like, yo, this nigga's the greatest. I was like, this nigga's the fucking GOAT. Like,
what's also crazy too?
Was that
for anyone who, especially Bone Thug fans, but anyone who just really tied into that song, them niggas was rhyming on that song.
You want to hear something funny, Tone? I've never heard anybody after that song. I have not heard it. Because here's the thing again. My closed-mindedness. I didn't get on the Bones until later in the game when somebody, because here's the thing. If somebody challenges me, and I think that's the thing that I wish more people did. If you challenge me to listen to something and you tell me it's dope and I respect you, I'm going to listen to it. Because I'm older now. You know what I mean? And when Bone Thugs came out with the Thuggish Ruggish Bones, I was just like, yo, I don't even know what the fuck they doing. I don't know what the fuck that shit is. Right. So, but, you know, that's the thing that, you know, I just want for us, boo. If somebody out there is watching, and I know it wasn't only me, if you was in your boom bap bag and your East Coast bag, yo, it's all good. But we missed out on a lot of dope hip hop. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with circling back around and listening to it now. There's absolutely, because some niggas will try to front on you for that. You know what I mean? I done seen niggas on Twitter like, oh, how you gonna fucking want to come hear it now? Because I didn't want to hear it then, my nigga. Like that. Why wouldn't I want to come back and hear it now? If I miss something, I want to hear it. You know what I mean?
That's the great part about music, man. You know what I'm saying? Music that has been released. Somebody could put me on. Look, I got turned on to some unreleased Marvin Gaye songs a couple of years ago, and they was recorded doing like what's going on period.
You talking about the I'm the Man album?
I think so. But I was like, damn, man, I missed out. How did I miss this? I'm always trying to look for Marvin Gaye. Joint? Look at that. Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, is the song when they call You? Is it on that one too?
What's that?
See if it's a song when they call You.
Nah, it's got You're the Man, The World's Rated X, Piece of Clay. Okay. Where do we go? Yeah.
There's a song called You from Marvin Gaye that a lot of people haven't heard, man. If you're a Marvin Gaye fan, you listening, please go to YouTube, put in Marvin Gaye You, and you will be very, very happy. And also the young boy, October London, man.
October London is crazy.
He makes music like Marvin Gaye, man. So check him out too. That's one of Snoop guys. But yeah, man, 1997 Kill, man. I just really wanted to talk about that year, and I think I'll talk about some narratives that go around as relates to that year that I don't think is true. Now, again, right. You feel how you feel about Puff and Mace and making the club joints, but it had its place in hip hop. But you know, the stigma of this era thing, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I look at the era as 3 to 5 years personally. You know, right. As a year, as an era. I do look at it like what you said a few minutes ago, Kid. That's a moment in time. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with a moment in time. You can say you love that moment in time and you didn't. But what I want people to take away from that is go back and do the research on 1997 hip hop and see how many albums was released, how many singles that was released from a multitude of artists from every region. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I didn't name everyone, but I did tell you about the South, you know what I'm saying, and the Midwest as well. Yeah. So check some of that out. Like I said, Bone Thugs, Ghetto D from Master P, The Untouchables by Scarface. You know what I'm saying? All these joints happened in 1997, past just the Biggie and Wu-Tang and Common dropping a stellar piece of work. Yeah. Cannabis is on all the radio shows at the time throughout 1997, destroying the mic. People are scared to rap with Cannabis in 1997. You know what I'm saying? And again, he was offsetting. If you didn't like to hear, you know, a Bad Boy song, you got Cannabis freestyles, and you can put them together on a tape. I made my own little Best of Cannabis back then before DJs was even making it. You know what I'm saying? So And another thing I want people to take from this is, for me, the Shiny Suit period of time, biggest death to DMX rise. And that's something I'm going to push a little bit on Twitter to have people talk about that. I want to see people talk about that and to look at it from a different perspective than just the regular narrative. Oh man, the Shiny Suit era ruined hip hop. It did this, that, and the third. It made, people start, oh yeah, people did make some beats different, but there also was people still making hard ass beats too.
Yeah.
Yes. Any final thoughts on 7, man?
I mean, again, just like from you said, it definitely was better than what I thought it was. But like I said, that's why I'm glad we set the show off like we're where we were personally. Because what some people out there may not realize is that plays a part. You know what I mean? Like that played a part in how I looked at music. That played a part in me not being able to hear everything that I wanted to hear because I wasn't working at the time and I'm just trying to keep food on the table. And
you know what too?
My biggest thing was buying records because I'm in Atlanta to try to get on with beats. So every little bit of money I got, I was going to the spot Red Beans and Rice in Atlanta. I was going to spot out little 5 points, buying vinyl, trying to go through the dollar bin. So I didn't have money to buy everything. Like, again, now we was talking about 94, 95, 96. Oh, I'm good. I'm at the radio station. I hear everything. Like, this is that year that just was type that fucked up year for me. You know what I mean? So what were you going to say?
No, I think it's also important that for people who weren't of age during that time and might be influenced by the internet and influenced by popular narratives about 1997 or this long period of time where hip hop was just trash or some shit like that because you wasn't living it. So if you follow some big accounts and some of them have in their mind, this is what they're going to spread, you know what I'm saying, as far as like their version of 1997, where some of them wasn't even of age, they just got a big platform, then you're influenced by that as opposed to talking to people who actually was from that era, who been honest about the era. I don't mean just being in it and being a boom bap head or some underground head and not going to be honest about the entire year and what happened in 1997. You know what I'm saying? Because the 90s, each year had its own unique albums that dropped, and 1997 was no different than the other years, having unique albums that is set in stone to hip-hop history. People will talk about Biggie's Life After Death for 50 more years. Wu-Tang will always be famous off 36 Chambers, of course, and then forever, Triumph will always be one of the biggest songs in hip-hop. That came out this year. Missy Elliott, Super Duper Fly, she's one of the most innovative people in hip-hop history. Timberland came out with Timberland Magoo album, and also Blessing Missy album. Timberland is one of the the greats of hip hop culture and beats and in pop culture and music. So you still have some landmark situations. Ghetto D took the South to another level, the Deep South. You know what I'm saying? Been a platinum album. Master P pushes his movement, which eventually opens up even more for Cash Money. Cash Money opens up for Wayne. Wayne opens up to everything you see now under his umbrella. So a lot of stuff spawned from 1997, man. So, I mean, yeah, man, I just really wanted to really have this conversation, man. But Kill, tell them where they can find you. Tell them about Apartment 5B, any other projects you got going on and productions and everything like that.
I would say this too, before we go there, I always tell people out there, I work with teens. I've been doing it for 23 years, and there's something important about having a mentor. And I feel like having a mentor, you need mentors in different places. I've been blessed. I've had mentors in my life to kind of help me, through growing into from a young man to, growing up, get me ready for marriage, a mentor to help me with marriage. But sometimes you need mentors in different places in your life. You know what I mean? One I was always missing was someplace in like the work mentor, like somebody to really help me navigate the 9-to-5 world, to kind of come up in it. So I always, challenge people to find mentors. But I think too, so when you were talking about for the younger people, I feel like you need a music mentor. You know what I mean? And it's similar to church. It ain't gotta be me. It ain't gotta be me. You ain't gotta come to my church. I just want you to find somebody, whether it's Tone. There's a lot of great hip hop accounts out here, and this isn't a diss on anybody, but you gotta find somebody who knows they shit. You know what I mean? That's all I ask. Don't follow somebody because they got 100 million followers. Your music mentor could be a nigga with 30 followers. But the same way when you say, okay, I want to go to church, I gotta find a good church home. You may go around, visit a couple of churches, and someone speaks to you. I challenge you to do that. If you love hip hop as much as so many people on Twitter say they do, then you got to do the history. And in order to do the history, you got to get somebody who was there. Like Tone said, find somebody. And again, don't got to be me. You ain't got to come join the Apartment 5B ministry. It could be the Dome. It could be anybody. But I just challenge you to find somebody, because once you really find somebody, that's when you're really going to be able to learn about the culture and everything like that. So that's my little soliloquy for that. But Apartment 5B, you can get me Kill 889 Twitter, IG. If you like Tone's timeline, my timeline is just like it. So it's going to be a lot of shit starting, going to be a lot of crazy ass shit coming. But then it's funny because people ask me all the time, like, yo, why you be on Twitter? I enjoy it. Dog, I work in the most dangerous hoods in DC every single day. So coming on Twitter, going back and forth with people, that shit is fun to me, yo. Like, so, yeah, like, that's why people like, yo, I don't see how you do that. Yo, the shit is relaxed. Nigga, you really want to come see what I do every day? Okay. So talking on Twitter about hip-hop is literally relaxation for me. But Apartment 5B, we've been at it live from the Riot's Bench. It's morphed into the Corner Radar. It's morphed into Apartment 5B. We've been doing it 10 years. Just a great spot to just come around. And I always tell people, if you're our age, you will definitely reminisce. You will be like, oh, shit, I forgot about that. And if you're a young boy, it's definitely a place where you can learn. We're never going to take you away with, if we say, yo, you should check out this, I'm going to give you the album to start with. We're going to, we're going to give you some good food. It's like Bible study. We're going to give you, it's like hip-hop study. You know what I mean? We're going to give you some good food for you to go out there and get great on that. Shout out to my co-host Porsche, everybody who's on there. Tone is always on there. Vegas, JR, Eddie, Vern, DJ Rec 1. Everybody who's always been involved with the show. So again, I just appreciate the time to chop it up, bro. Love it, man.
Absolutely, man. You already know where to find me at. People, Tony the Dome on Twitter, and they give you the links to everything else, man. We just having a fun, man. Loving this culture, man. You don't have to agree with us, but like I always say, my thoughts are to me. You know, if you rock with it, if you follow it, that's cool. I'm not saying I'm the expert. I'm just give you my experience in the culture. I'll be 50 in my next year, so that's what it is. Kill. We from the same era, man. So we just enjoy it. So, episode 52, we out, man. Blessings, yo. Peace. All right.